more to kick the raw, represent everyone. It's you and I verse. Get into it. Try to ease my corrupted mind with the marijuana. Say pro-life is God sent. But my eyes confined, closed, unopened up doors. My mustard seed, it grows on. Through the heart, I'm reborn. When you die, we look how you synthesize. Define how I stay alive. Survival tactics, governmental gangs, I face factions. Mob hop, lethal weapon, never half stepping. Million man Mars, I'm a million and one. The rhyme be the scenery, shit. I'm high as a gift, God's to supply the broadness. The rhyme be the scenery, shit. I'm high as a gift, God's to supply the broadness. Conscious, flip a continental plate, tectonic shit. Matter like my phonics, MC, a time. Never kick my feet up, less I'm kicking a verse. How they got pissed, conscious. I never switch to set, I see the disconnect. Organization, truthfully, put us all in categories. So you asking what I am or what I'm not. It's the real hip hop, I puff pop, never touch blocks. Cause what I create could have me in the casket, hopefully. And a voice forever globally. Shit, you universe is just a city to me. Universe is just a city to me. Shout out Dirty Sanchez on the feature. The song is called If I Die Tonight. Yeah.
If I die tonight, if I die tonight, if I die tonight, pour some money on the ground, pour some money on the ground for me.
Hey yo, shout out Dirty Sanchez, Pro Era, 47. You fucking my funk sway, so you bitch go that way. No ways to get around it. Beat up the box till I knock out. Times money, I ball till I clock out. And boys included. Super exclusive. Excuses. Excluded. Executed. Off with the heads of state. Overthrow the government. Be the new mandate. Raise your hands if you can't relate. They wanna see some changes. Probably prisons is the new slave trade. Until they free my son. And it's free my mind like the Freemason. Ain't shit free, I gotta free my son. Thought my nigga can't breathe. The water ain't clean. And Biggie told me it was all a dream. Hey yo! If I die tonight, Metaphor 77 got one more verse. Yeah. Shout out EYE. If I die tonight, if I die tonight, drop off the mic in your cranium, eye into the titanium, steel sharp as steel. You know my C-zone sent the races to the killing fields. With Johnny trained them, Johnny dangerous, the conscience can't contain them. Hate this spot, cannot phase. Flow 1 point as a laser beam through your steel. In a flash, fuck the mask off, hit to save all. I can't believe today was a good day. Disbelievers telling me I'm not gifted. In a few years, gonna be stealing my style, shoplifting, incandescent. True MC, I really rep this. And all mortalized, see through perception. AK my breath and words, create this intervention. Passing in denial is defiance of the first step. You in the first step, hold up, check. Can you grasp that? Can we grasp that? Can they grasp that? Shout out Wizard Lee on the beat, you know what I'm saying? Well, you know what I'm saying, on the executive producing. And shout out Profound on the beat, you dig? But yeah, it was really good. We're going to get into it. The waxing moon is Scorpio with the sun in Cancer. So keep in mind, we just had this first quarter square in Libra, right? Which was learning to relate a vibration. So keep that in mind at this point in time. Whatever you related to, you're not going to be in depth with, and you're going to be feeling that in-depth emotion. So keep in mind, this moon in Scorpio is a trine to the sun in Cancer, right? So you're going to have the gift to be in an in-depth vibration or emotion and things like that. And keep in mind, we have the moon square and Pluto off tops, you know what I'm saying? Because moon in Scorpio is a fixed sign and a fixed moon, right? And keep in mind, the moon in Scorpio is in detriment and things like that. It doesn't do too well with the moon and things of that nature, because Scorpio likes to be more consistent and stubborn and doesn't like to actually adapt to emotions. It likes to kind of be more of that ice block of emotions and things like that and keep to themselves. And they only like to be open and be what's the word I'm looking for? Like be candid around others that actually feel they can actually be candid around and feel comfortable around. So essentially, this moon in Scorpio square in Pluto is going to be learning how to transform one's emotions and things like that and be more emotional and comprehend that you have to be more associated with this in-depth emotion and things like that. And then moving forward, we also have the moon trining a whole bunch of things. So keep in mind, we got the sun in Cancer, which is a water sign, right? And we got Saturn being in Pisces, right? And then we got Neptune being in Pisces as well. So all three of those are all water signs, right? So essentially, we're going to have this grand water trine with the moon, the sun, and Saturn as well as Neptune both being in Pisces. So with that grand trine, we're going to have the gift of feeling emotional and being in that emotional state of that vibration. So essentially, with the moon of Scorpio, it being in detriment, we're going to have that gift to be in depth with our emotions and take actions upon those in depth emotions and things like that with the sun in Cancer. And then with the Saturn being in Pisces, this in depth emotion, we can have this gift to actually build on our dreams, illusions, and nightmares. And then with Neptune being here in Pisces as well, these dreams, illusions, and nightmares, we're going to be in that space. So essentially, we may be illusionary to our dream or our far out thoughts and things like that. So keep in mind, we also have the moon in conjuncting Jupiter being in Gemini, right? And then also Chiron in Aries and the North Node being in Aries. So Jupiter in conjuncting the moon at this point in time, we may misunderstand this in-depth emotion or feeling that we actually have to expand upon. So we may be in this circumstance situation where we think we're being wise, but we're actually misunderstanding it based on us being so in-depth and in the water, deep in the water, so to speak. So the key for any moon in Scorpio natally, or whenever we're dealing with the moon in Scorpio, you want to realize, that you need to come up for a breath of fresh air, so to speak, and things like that, because moon in Scorpio, like I say, is like the ice block, and if you don't break the ice and things like that and come up for a breath of fresh air, you're going to be in a circumstance situation where that in-depth emotion can actually have a detriment for the future and things like that. So with this being said, we're going to have this in conjunction as well with Chiron and also Neptune, pardon me, the North Node. So Chiron being in Aries, right, which is our wounded healer, right? Chiron being the wounded healer and Aries being the individuality. So we're going to be in this circumstance situation where our individuality is going to be tested, so to speak. So we may misunderstand our in-depth emotions and like, oh, dang, do we actually want to stay in this circumstance situation of being the individual based on us feeling so dark and deep about it, so to speak, and things like that. So with this being said as well, being in the North Node is like your uncomfortable circumstance. So uncomfortability creates growth. So keep that in mind. This individuality that you're dealing with and this way of being this individual and your purpose, so to speak, like the North Node is your purpose, is your destiny, right? So you may misunderstand this in-depth emotion that you're dealing with based on being that individual and things like that. So this 150-degree angle is going to be a circumstance situation where you feel so in depth with something that you might actually misunderstand that you still need to be an individual, even though you kind of feel scrutinized or criticized based on how you emotionally feel about it. Well, give me one moment, I'm saying. But yeah, moving forward, the moon is going to be also opposing Mars and Uranus, right? Based on the Scorpio moon being a 180-degree angle to the Mars in Taurus and also Uranus in Taurus, right? So with this being said, you can either add on or oppose to your intentions and passions that you want to make sense out of and things like that. And based on this, you can either be in a circumstance situation where these in-depth emotions are something you can actually relate and things of that nature. And these in-depth emotions, like I say, is also with that Martian aspect, it's going to be in a circumstance situation where you have this internal passion being Scorpio, right? And the external passion, just to be clear, which is the other space where Mars is at home, is Aries, right? So essentially, you're going to have this internal passion that you can either add on to this intention, right, so to speak, and be logistical about it, being Mars and Taurus, right? And then also Uranus being in Taurus as well. So us wanting to ground this individuality and be more and have stability within this way of being far out, so to speak, or being that individual or being rebellious. So essentially, this in-depth emotion is something you can either add on to your rebellious nature or oppose it and see that you are in a circumstance situation where you actually don't want to come up for a breath of fresh air, you know what I'm saying, on the opposing side, or you actually see like, okay, I'm just in my emotions and in my feelings about being an individual and things like that. And the way that I'm being scrutinized and things like that, it's actually just because I feel so in depth about something that I feel scrutinized about, that is in a circumstance situation you might want to conform and things like that. So you can either add on or oppose to your rebellious nature at this point in time. So yeah, with all this being said, like I said, we just had this first quarter square. And this first quarter square, like I mentioned earlier in the video, with the moon in Libra, was all about learning to relate that passion, pardon me, learning to relate that emotion to that vibration, so to speak. So it's either you were on the higher octave and you wanted to relate, and you were able to relate the way that you feel and things like that, and it came off in a circumstance situation that you were as actually beneficial, or you were relating to a circumstance situation that actually didn't benefit you and things like that, and it, like kind of made this vibration in a circumstance situation that it was not beneficial when you related and things like that, and now you feel so in depth about it that it's like, oh dag, can I even come up for a breath of fresh air and actually relate that? And like I say, the moon being a Scorpio is also in detriment, or is at work, so to speak. So it's got to deal with what it's got, so to speak, kind of alike to the moon in Capricorn. The moon in Capricorn is more at work, pardon me. And the moon in Scorpio is just in detriment, so to speak. So the moon in Capricorn, you got to work with what you got. But the moon in Scorpio is like, you're already in this circumstance situation that you're already fixed upon your emotional state and things like that, to a point where you don't actually want to break the ice, so to speak. So now, moving forward, I'm going to go ahead and break down the rising signs from Scorpio in the first house and going all the way to Sagittarius in the first house, right? So Scorpio in the first house is going to have these personal affairs of being in this in-depth emotion and things like that. Keep in mind, they're also going to be in the trine to the Cancer in the ninth house for the Scorpio. So that in this circumstance and situation, your in-depth emotion that you're feeling personally, you can actually take action upon that and have a morality about it, and essentially take action upon this experience and things like that, or be wise about how you can actually relate this individuality, so to speak, and you're going to have this gift between your personal life and your experience. So essentially, like Scorpio is seeing, okay, based on me and how I actually see myself and my first impression upon people, I'm actually now more wise about it, because how I make people feel is in turn going to make how they reflect on me as well. You know what I'm saying? Not to say that everybody that you give good emotions and give God good vibrations, that is actually going to benefit you in the long term, but it may be in a circumstance, a situation that you can see, okay, being more kind and things like that and being more modest is actually more beneficial and things like that, to get on people's good sides and have people on your good side, so to speak. Because like Scorpio is in a circumstance situation that they're able to actually see through an individual. And just based on how they know they're going to interact in the future, they already kind of like, what you call that, retract themselves and things like that. So essentially, you're going to have this circumstance situation where you see yourself and your personality and your first impression be played out. And you're either going to feel comfortable with your personal life or uncomfortable with your personal life being on the lower octave. And if you're more uncomfortable in your personal life, you need to see, okay, how am I actually taking action upon this in my morality and things like that, in my knowledge and wisdom, in my experience, or the travel, and so to speak. And the way I'm traveling in my mind, so to speak, am I taking action in a beneficial circumstance situation? You know what I'm saying? I don't really be caring like what people say, so like I'm gonna go ahead and there's a bunch of messages for review. I'm gonna go ahead and see what's really good. You know what I'm saying? It's funny. Yeah, but go ahead. Go ahead and do your thing, man. I ain't no hater. If you were hating on me, you know what I'm saying, at the end of the day, you just benefit me in a circumstance situation that you're not aware of. But yeah, so keep on doing your thing, being a troll. And then, like I say, moving forward, where the Scorpio is in your houses, so to speak. So now we're going to move on to Libra, right? And the areas of the life, pardon me, and the houses represent your areas of life. So essentially for the Libra, and the Scorpio area of their life is the second house and their values. So essentially you're valuing this in-depth emotion of a person, place, thing, or idea. And with this being said, it's in turn playing out your status. So the Libra is in a circumstance situation where they're actually learning about their status and things like that, and how they actually, what they're known for, so to speak. So essentially, these things that you value in an in-depth nature, you're actually in having this gift to play them out, essentially, and become your status, so to speak. So essentially, if you're valuing your circumstance situation, pardon me, if you're not valuing the people, places, and things that you're around, in turn, that's going to play out in your status and things like that, being the Libra. So if you're on the higher octave, what you value as in an in-depth nature is actually benefiting you and things like that, and you're getting money off it, so to speak, and you have this shared value, so to speak, like to a point where you may be known for being at work and being the individual that actually manages other individuals and things like that, but it's actually benefiting you based on these people, places, and things that you're around and things like that. And you keep on getting raises, so to speak, and I'm saying that's what you're known for, is getting the money and making people feel more comfortable, so to speak, based on your rhetoric and your words and things like that, being that Libra rising. So if you're on the lower octave, you need to find something to actually value that you can actually accumulate a shared value from, so to speak, and things like that. With this being said, you want to find what people, places, and things you want to be around to actually accumulate wealth, so to speak. And then moving forward, the Virgo rising is having a sextile to the Scorpio, right? So with this being said, they're having the third house being a Scorpio, like I say, which represents the environment and the immediate spaces that they're in and things like that. So the Virgo is going to see the opportunity to actually be more in-depth in their environment at this point in time. And then with this being said, it's going to be that gift between the 3rd and the 11th house for the Virgo. So essentially, the Virgo is having a gift between their environment and their associates and things like that. So essentially, how you're interacting with the environment, then in turn, this vibration is going to be put out, and people are going to be like, "Dag, the Virgo is so calm, cool, and collected that I actually want to associate with them and things like that." And those associates that you're taking action with, what I'm saying, they're kind of putting the good word in and things like that. And you may be actually in a circumstance, a situation that it's like your public association is actually in a beneficial circumstance to a point where this vibration that you put out amongst your associates, like the word gets out, so to speak. And keep in mind, the good word about yourself is the thing that actually spreads the fastest. So like what I'm trying to say is, like, the best advertisement is other individuals advertising you and things like that. It's not like going to the newspaper and saying like, "Hey, check out my business." It's like people that have actually partaken in your business and things like that, and they actually had a good experience and things like that, and they want to give you a good review amongst others and things like that. So word of mouth, that's what I'm looking for. So essentially, you being so in-depth in your environment and things like that, and you actually being able to see the opportunity to be in-depth and communicate this in-depth nature is actually benefiting you in your association and things like that, being that Virgo rising. Then moving forward, the Leo rising is having this square to the Scorpio, right? So the Leo has to learn to be more in-depth with their emotions, things like that, and learn to be more in-depth within their home and their private life and things like that, and actually express their heart, so to speak. So with this being said, the Leo also has the 12th house being in Cancer. So based on you expressing your heart and things like that, and feeling comfortable with what you have going on in the in-depth and the secrets amongst your home, you're in a situation where you can actually play out your dream and things like that. Like, for example, like if you're an artist like myself, do you feel comfortable playing your music in your home and things like that, and actually having individuals in your home be like, "Yeah, I'm saying, this is a music, and this is music and a song that I actually like and things like that, and I'm going to play when you're not around, so to speak, so that way we can get the word out and have your dream be accomplished." That's an example of that. But if you're on the lower octave, you feel more in a space that, like, whenever you're feeling in-depth about your home and your heart and things like that, you're in a space like, I feel it's actually non-beneficial for me to actually be more in-depth and things like that, and feel comfortable with my home and things like that, or feel comfortable in my private spaces and things of that nature. So essentially, if you're on that lower octave, being that Leo rising, you need to find a space in your home, or even just like a private space within your home, that you can actually be more in depth with oneself. And then with that being said, you kind of take that time to oneself and learn to be more transformative, so to speak, and see what is actually benefiting me to actually have my dream be accomplished, and how can I utilize this gift between my private life and my dreams, so to speak. So like with this being said, essentially the Leo needs to have more spaces in their home to be more in depth and things like that, and be more candid, so to speak, so then in turn they can actually have their dream be accomplished and see what they're missing, so to speak, to actually have that be fulfilled. Then moving forward, the Cancer rising is having the 5th house being in Scorpio, right? And obviously they're going to have the 1st house being in Cancer. So essentially they're either feeling comfortable with this in-depth expression that they have and things like that, or they feel uncomfortable expressing oneself. So keep in mind, they're both water signs, like I mentioned earlier. So essentially the Cancer is having the gift to express oneself and things like that. And that's what's going on for the Cancer. Either you feel comfortable expressing oneself or you feel uncomfortable expressing oneself. And keep in mind, to get yourself on the higher octave, essentially you just got to be yourself and not try to be someone else, so to speak. So then with all this being said, moving forward, the Gemini rising is having an in conjunction, which is a 150-degree angle, a misunderstanding. So essentially the Gemini may misunderstand their work routine and pattern, and have to be actually more in depth with this work routine and pattern to stop being so scatterbrained. Essentially, the Gemini is so all over the place in their personal life that they may misunderstand that they actually have to have an in-depth routine and pattern that they feel comfortable with and things like that. So essentially, if you're on the higher octave, you feel comfortable being at work and things like that, and it actually is benefiting you based on it being a routine and pattern that is in a circumstance situation. You don't have to be so scatterbrained and things like that, and you know, okay, I have a checklist, so to speak, and things that I have to accomplish at work or with my routine and pattern. And if you're, like I say, if you're on the lower octave, you need to find more of a circumstance situation where what you're working on and things like that, you can feel comfortable being in depth with that and things like that. So essentially, you want to do something you actually enjoy and things like that, and you feel in a circumstance situation that actually you can get so in depth with this emotion that you can be consistently in depth with this routine, or consistently work on this and be all the way in, so to speak, or have this internal passion about it. Moving forward, the Taurus rising is having the 7th house being in Scorpio. Right, so the 7th house in Scorpio is all about relating your in-depth emotions, so to speak. And with this being said, if you're on the higher octave, being that Taurus, you're actually feeling comfortable relating those in-depth emotions. Or if you're on the lower octave, you're in a relationship and things like that, where you actually want to oppose being in-depth and things like that, and feeling like you shouldn't be investing all the way in and things like that, and you don't actually want to jump all the way into this relationship and things like that based on this relationship feeling uncomfortable, so to speak. And pretty much you want to be, if you're trying to get to the higher octave, being that Taurus, you want to see what can I actually logistically make sense out of being behind the scenes with this individual and relating with them and things like that. And whenever nobody else is watching, can it actually make sense for me, so to speak? Then moving forward, the Aries rising is having the 8th house being a Scorpio, right? And this 8th house being a Scorpio is behind the scenes, secrets, and things like, and transformation, so to speak. And with this being said, it's also a misunderstanding to the Aries as well. So essentially the Aries may misunderstand that they actually have to be in depth and transform their what they feel internally passionate about and things like that to actually be on the higher octave at this point in time, and they feel comfortable transforming what's going on behind the scenes and things like that. And based on the Aries always being in their own individuality, they may be in a circumstance situation where they misunderstand, okay, what do I actually need to transform to benefit oneself and things like that? And what is this actual gift that I can utilize based on the Cancer being in the 4th house to actually have my heart, you know what I'm saying, be in a space that I feel comfortable expressing it and things like that, and taking action upon what's in my heart and things like that. So essentially you have to transform what's going on behind the scenes to actually feel comfortable with your in-home actions or your private actions, so to speak. Then moving forward, the Pisces rising is having the 9th house being a Scorpio, and the 9th house is all about morality, knowledge, wisdom, and experience, and also travel within the mind or externally. So essentially the Pisces has to be internally passionate at this point in time and have this, they're going to have this gift to essentially feel comfortable with their morality and things like that based on them being in this illusionary space. Like, do they actually, are you in a Pisces that whenever you dream and things like that, does it actually benefit you, and you can actually feel internally passionate about that, and you feel that it's wise, so to speak. And then keep in mind that the Pisces also has the 5th house being in Cancer, right? So essentially you're going to have this gift as well between your 9th house and your 5th house, which will be essentially feeling internally passionate about your experience to then take action and express that experience, so to speak, and express yourself about those experiences and those emotions that you're feeling. Moving forward, the Aquarius rising is having the 10th house being in Scorpio, right? And the 10th house is all about your status, your blueprint, and your career. So with this being said, the Aquarius has to learn, because it's a square, the Aquarius has to learn to be more in-depth about their status and things like that, and what they're known for. And do they feel internally passionate about their status at this point in time? And then with this being said, they also have the 6th house being in Cancer. So essentially, do you feel internally passionate about your status to then in turn take action and work on it, so to speak, with the sun being in Cancer in the 6th house? Yeah. And if you're on the lower octave, you have to be in a circumstance situation where you're learning what to actually put on the forefront and feel more internally passionate about to actually have this status that you want to accomplish, so to speak, be accomplished or brought to the forefront. Moving forward, the Capricorn rising is having the 11th house being in Scorpio, and this is a sextile. So the Capricorn is seeing the opportunity and what to associate with and things like that, and what to be more in depth about to have this public persona that they feel comfortable with and things like that. Do they feel internally passionate about who they're associating with, or do they feel in a circumstance situation where they're seeing the opportunity to disassociate and things like that, being the Scorpio moon? And essentially, if you're on that lower octave and you feel comfortable disassociating and you see that opportunity, like, I know what this is going to lead to in the next, you know what I'm saying, the full moon, so to speak, because the full moon is going to participate in Capricorn. You want to be in a circumstance situation where you can feel internally passionate around your associates and actually have this internal passion be brought to the forefront. And with this being said, they also have this gift between their 11th and their 7th house, right? So essentially, whoever you're associating with, you then in turn take action and want to relate with them and things like that. And that's essentially what's going down for the Capricorn. So you want to be around associates that you can actually relate with, so to speak. And you're going to have this gift to relate to them. Then moving forward, last but not least, the Sagittarius is going to have the 12th house being in Scorpio. I almost said Pisces. This Sagittarius is going to have the 12th house being a Scorpio, right? The 12th house is all about the dreams, illusions, and nightmares, and also endings or unconsciousness, so to speak, or unconscious endings, so to speak. Something that you're not aware of is actually going to end, but you're actually on the precipice or the threshold of that actually being finished, from saying, or ending. And then with this being said, they're going to have the 8th house. Yeah, the 8th house being in Cancer, right? So with this being said, they're going to feel internally passionate on the higher octave to dream about, I lost it for 1 second, internally passionate about what's going on behind the scenes, to take an action behind the scenes to actually have this dream being accomplished. So essentially, if you're on the lower octave, you want to get more internally passionate about a dream that can actually benefit you and you actually want to take action and work on behind the scenes. So yeah, that's about all I got for y'all. You know what I'm saying? Much love and holla back. And you could go ahead and peep my Cash App, you know what I'm saying? If you want to send me a little donation and things like that, or if you were looking to get a reading and you had any kind of question, you can go ahead and email me. That's also in the description. So yeah, moving forward, if you wanted to, like I said, if you want to send any donations, I just added that to my my description. You could go ahead and Cash App me. And I'm saying I'm grateful for anybody, you know what I'm saying, to go ahead and send any donations and things like that. I'm very grateful to I'm saying, have you support the movement, so to speak. And with this being said, you could also email me for any kind of reading, and that could be our method of, you know what I'm saying, transaction, so to speak. And then we could also get into the details and things like that, which is, you know what I'm saying, what kind of reading you would want to purchase as well. You know what I'm saying, I provide many different kinds of readings. So for example, natal chart readings or progress chart readings, just for a couple of examples. But yeah, if you wanted to go ahead and get one of those, or you had a question about what kind of readings I also provide, I'll go ahead and send you a menu and we'll, move forward with that. Much love and holla back, and peace and love if you believe in all that.